Huge four-game series for many reasons this weekend against the Dodgers. Sandy Alcantara continues his Cy Young hunt, as does Tony Gonsolin. Can the Marlins offense do Sandy a favor and blow Tony up? There's other things going on. Trevor Rogers, an absolutely stunning start last night in AAA. Is Trevor on his way back? Equally, news dropping. Pablo Lopez, the trade that wasn't made, that the Yankees declined. We're going to dig into that as well and work out, should the Marlins have looked to make it happen? Were the Yankees right to say no? We're going to dig into all of that on today's Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked On Marlins, the Friday edition of Locked On Marlins. This is your fifth episode of the week. How have you enjoyed it? It's been a fun week. Tons of guests as always. Smoking Joe was on fire yesterday, no doubt about it. Got into tons with Joe. Hope you've enjoyed that episode. And it's a solo pod. It's just me on the Friday. You can still see it's still light. It's not nighttime for recording for today. So I'm hitting the record, flying solo. Bit of a quick hit kind of episode, really, for this one, guys. And a couple of main topics. We got the Dodgers on deck. 4 games against the Dodgers, coming off a 3-game series last weekend where the Dodgers absolutely pummeled the Fish. We were on the road, but there was a couple of pitchers who got heavily pummeled. Brian Hoeing, one of them, and Sandy Alcantara, the other one. Equally, we didn't see Tony G last time around. Tony Gonsolin, he's going to be going up against the Marlins on Monday, unless the Dodgers look to try and protect Tony Gonsolin against this Marlins offense that is now popping, no doubt about it, and try and protect that record. I don't know. We'll wait and see on that one. So we've got the Dodgers on deck. We also heard news yesterday. I say news. It wasn't brand new, but there was some information from Ken Rosenthal about Pablo Lopez to the Yankees deal that felt like it had some momentum going at the deadline. So, was putting out some feelers yesterday on Twitter to get your views, your feelings. Would the Marlins have said yes? I mean, they were proposing it by all accounts. The Yankees said no. Were they right to say no? Bits and pieces there. So we'll dig into that as well. Plus, Trevor Rogers, an absolutely stunning start in AAA last night. 6 innings, no hitter going, 12 Ks, just 1 walk. Is Trevor back? Is he back? And when will we see him back at Major League level? So, guys, let's start with this Dodgers series. Friday, game 1, the starter is TBC right now, but all expectations are it's Brian Hoeing is going to get another shot. Last time out, it was not good. It was a tricky assignment, no doubt, probably the toughest assignment in baseball, particularly the fact he was making his debut after flying, relatively unexpectedly across the country, dropped in there. Brian, good luck, brother. And, surprise, surprise, it didn't go amazing for him, giving up 7 earned runs off 8 hits, just got through 3 innings. 2 Ks, 2 bombs, though, as well. So Hoeing was blown up, and the Dodgers obviously pummeled the Marlins that day. It was 7-0, all 7 runs against Hoeing. The next day, then, Sandy Alcantara came out. We're expecting or hoping for a big performance from Sandy. He's had big struggles in Dodger Stadium, and it was, again, similar situation. Only got through 3 2/3, 10 hits, 6 runs, all of them earned, 1 walk, 5 Ks, including 1 bomb. It was another struggle for Sandy. And I think at this time of the year, this is the main storyline heading into this series. All eyes are going to be on Sandy Alcantara. Yes, it's now at home. So what can Sandy do? Can he return to form? Historically, Sandy Alcantara, he has a knack, a real knack. Where there's a clunker, he bounces back quick and well. And I'm sure Sandy will be looking to go deep into this game. He's scheduled to be starting on the Saturday game, so game 2. So all eyes will be on Sandy Alcantara there. And we then flip over to the other side where Tony Gonsolin, I'm not sure if Tony Gonsolin is the main if he's the number 2, if Sandy is the favorite, is Gonsolin 2? I'm not sure. I think there's, Max Fried is in the mix. A few others are in the mix. But in my opinion, Sandy Alcantara is so far away from these other dudes that I actually think it's a race of one. I think Sandy has this pretty much fully locked up. Although, what happens if the Dodgers completely blow Sandy up again? What happens if he has another few clunkers the rest of the way? Maybe lets a few of the other guys in. However, Tony Gonsolin will have to pitch. Well, not have to, but he's scheduled to start against the Marlins on Monday. So game 4, Tony G queued up. And, if you look at wins and losses, Tony G absolutely on fire. You look at a lot of numbers, it's been good. You look at the one main number, though, the innings. The innings variance is so vast. And so, Gonsolin's being pulled after 80 pitches and going, 5 and a bit innings and whatever. It's all good. But Sandy's value, why he has differentiated himself from other pitchers right now in the game, is just the way he can go so deep into games, and he actually gets better. The longer the game goes on, Sandy starts to get better and better and better. No one else can do what Sandy can. He is the best pitcher in the NL. He's the best pitcher in Major League Baseball, in my opinion. I'm biased, but I get to watch every Sandy start. And so I know, I'm talking from my own experiences here. I get to see the other guys too, and they're good. And, the other thing to call out, DeGrom's back, and DeGrom looks like DeGrom. I really am intrigued if they can get a full year out of DeGrom next year. Let's assume he's with the Mets. We shouldn't assume that because DeGrom has an opt-out available to him this year. I'm intrigued to see the way the Mets play it. If I was the Mets, let's just sign up DeGrom now. Just get him locked in, extend him, do whatever you need to do. Money is not a problem for the New York Mets. And we also had announcement that in terms of the schedule itself for next year, the Marlins will start at home against the New York Mets. It's possible that the Cy Young race in 2023 is not possible. It does. It starts right there where Sandy will face off against Jacob deGrom. Perhaps there's a few decisions, a few twists and turns in that one, perhaps for deGrom to be there. But wouldn't it be sensational, Sandy versus deGrom, to get it all rolling in 2023? Tough assignment for both teams there. But I've got off on a tangent. It happens. It's a solo pod, right? But the point I'm trying to make is Sandy Alcantara for me is still miles ahead of anyone else. But I'm very intrigued to see, what can Sandy do? And secondly, what can the Marlins offense do? Can they come alive on Monday? It's a Dodger getaway day, I guess. So the Dodgers, that'll be the end of the series. The Marlins are staying at home, welcoming the Rays later that week. The Marlins will be feeling relaxed. Can they? Can they blow up Tony G? I would absolutely love it. It'd be just, for all the lack of run support that Sandy's had, wouldn't it just be sensational if they ended up just piling in on Tony Gonsolin and letting him have his first clunker of the year, and hopefully only his second loss. I mean, boy, oh boy, the Dodgers starting pitchers. I mean, they barely lost a game combined all year. It's insane. What a team. So how's it going to go? We'll wait and see. But the rotation itself is starting to really shape up. I think, Brian Hoeing will start in all likelihood today, Friday. And it could be his last start because Trevor Rogers is back, baby. Trevor, after a couple of very underwhelming rehab starts, delivered an absolute stunner. So, after this ad, we will talk about Trevor, what it means for him, what the approach the Marlins took with him too. I wanted to touch on that briefly, and where we can see him coming back into this rotation real soon. But guys, this episode is brought to you by our good friends over at BetOnline and BetOnline.net. It's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. You can find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. You can find reviews and news of every league. It includes Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information. That includes live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They've just got you covered. You can head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today, right now, over the weekend, next week. BetOnline, where the game starts. And boy, oh boy, where did Trevor Rogers start yesterday after an absolute disgrace of a performance last time out. He got absolutely blown up. Trevor delivers 6 innings, no hits, 1 walk, 12 Ks. I think he struck his first, out of the first 8 batters, maybe struck out 7, all swinging strikes, I believe. So Trevor was just back. And it's been a head scratcher all year with Trevor Rogers, hasn't it? You know, it just didn't look right in spring. It didn't look right pretty much all the way through. Then he went to the IL for this back issue. I saw Trevor Rogers, you know, straight after that move was made, and he was high-fiving. He was pumped in the dugout. To me, Trevor Rogers, no back issue. This, to me, was one of those IL stints of, hey, we need to give Trevor a blow. Let him just reset. It was a reset moment for him. What does he need to go away? Does he need some time? Does he need to go away and work things out, et cetera, et cetera? So I think that's the way that the Marlins played it, which it felt right. Like the struggles had been real. We could all see with our own eyes, and we could, you know, and the results were showing it too. That Trevor was having a real sophomore slump. It really, really was. It's been a real tough year for him. It's funny as well because Ian Anderson for the Braves, it's been a similar. I know I haven't seen a lot of Ian Anderson starts, but when you look at those two guys, 2 lefties, 2 young studs. You know, Ian Anderson, a big part of the 2021 Braves rotation. Trevor Rogers, obviously a massive part of the Marlins 21 rotation. Both of them guys now have Ian Anderson optioned. Trevor Rogers obviously rehabbing, hasn't been optioned. And based on that last start yesterday, there's a good chance now that he's going to be recalled. And when you get it back around to next week against the Rays, there's a good chance that Trevor Rogers will slot back into the rotation against the Rays. I think it's the Rays anyway. It must be because there's 4 games against the Dodgers. Then it's a Rays series. So let's assume that spot is available. I mean, who knows? Brian Hoeing could absolutely just pitch a gem. Maybe says, I'm not leaving. I ain't leaving. Maybe. And I'd be, you know, for Brian Hoeing, it'd be great to see him get kind of 5-6 innings against the Dodgers, against a real tough lineup. But at home, I think that's the key bit. But for me, for the Marlins, clearly they need to get Trevor. If he's delivered that kind of performance, you have to ride that wave. You have to. You give him the time, you give him the break, you work him back up, and then finally he finds it and it clicks. You've got to get him back up to the major league level and see, can it stick? Can what he's been working on, the effectiveness, can it translate again to the major league level? And it's just been so un-Trevor-like, un-Marlins pitching-like, where guys seem to really take a huge step back. Like Trevor, to me, had all the tools in 2021. He really did. You're working off this fastball, this changeup combo, and then it felt like he's obviously tweaked his game a little bit, introducing a slider, I think, a bit more frequently, gone away from the change. The fastball isn't quite there. The velocity's down. A lot of things going on. I'm really uncertain as to what has led to this for Trevor, but nevertheless, it's great to see him back. Spoke about it earlier on Twitter as well. Put out to say, listen, for the next 5 days after this, once Trevor's back, I think the rotation will look like Sandy Alcantara, Pablo Lopez, of course, Edward Cabrera, Jesus Luzardo, and Trevor Rogers. It is an elite rotation, however you want to slice and dice it. There's some proven guys in there. There's some emerging guys. And, of course, there's Trevor Rogers that's looking to, I guess, recoup and rediscover that form. Still young, but how young is that rotation? Couple of lefties in there, plus, an absolute bona fide ace. The Marlins rotation, it is the strength. It remains the strength. And there's more guys brewing around. Obviously, Braxton Garrett's kind of done his job this year as well. A few others. Let's think back as well. Obviously, Eliezer Hernandez started in the rotation. I'd be surprised if we see Eliezer back in the rotation ever again for the Marlins. Not sure the bullpen experiment is working that well either. So I'm intrigued to see where the future takes Eliezer. But it's time to get Trevor back in, get him plugged in. And for me, for Trevor, a massive month now. Can he just put down some back-to-back starts? And it's just been that first inning. Felt like he's just struggled to get out of the first with a low pitch count. It's always been a struggle. First time through the order there. You always come out of there with, 30, 40 pitches, whatever it might be. And at that point, you're not going deep into the game. So that's the thing for Trevor. He was just not missing enough bats. Let's miss some bats. And yesterday he was missing those bats, getting those swinging strikeouts, tons of them. Okay, AAA lineup in at the back end of August. Yeah, it's probably not overly pumped, but it is what it is. If Trevor can get back, miss some bats, I think that would be a big, big thing. And that's a big thing for him. You then into, can Luzardo carry on? Luzardo's had a stunning return from the IL as well. So he's come back stronger. He's absolutely on fire. Can Luzardo keep that going? Carried the no-hitter into the 6th inning against the A's. Can Luzardo, can he put it down again against the Dodgers? He was the only one that performed against the Dodgers last time around. Again, another stunning start there. So Luzardo coming back, he's trying to put himself in a big spot for next year. You've then got Edward Cabrera, who again, 8 innings, easy 8 against the A's. Yes, it was against the A's. So bigger test for him against the Dodgers for certain. But this is the type of test I want to see. Even though this game is happening at the back end of August, the Marlins are out of it this year. This is a huge test for Edward Cabrera in this series. And actually, is Edward Cabrera going? Now I've said it. I'm doubting myself. He is going, right? Nevertheless, it's going to be a big month for him. I'm actually doubting myself now. Is Eddie going? So let me just firm this up. Hoeing, Alcantara, Cabrera. Of course, UK friendly on Sunday as well. 5:05 p.m. UK time. That's a 12 Eastern. Boy, oh boy, that is an early start. So we're going to get the wine cracked early there. Edward Cabrera going on the Sunday, the day game. And this is it. Can he prove the health? The talent has been there. It's been there and obviously there for years in this system. He was a little bit of the forgotten man in some ways because Sixto burst on the scene. What's the future hold for Eddie? He didn't quite have the buzz. Didn't have the same kind of buzz like an Uri Perez has now kind of garnered as well. So, but for me, he looks the real deal. I am excited to see him against the Dodgers as well because these are the tests we need to work out. Can we rely on Edward Cabrera next year? Can we? Both health-wise, talent-wise, I think we can. But he needs to prove it because for the Marlins, they need to make some moves to get some bats, and they're not going to pay. They're not going to pay for those top-level bats. So the bats are going to have to arrive via trade. That means some of this pitching depth is going to have to go, and you need some of these guys to step up and deliver effectively. Edward Cabrera is one of those guys. Who knows? He could well be a trade candidate for those watching. And this is the other interesting wrinkle here. Edward Cabrera is trying to prove to the Marlins that he can be counted on in that rotation. And the Marlins would like to see that too. But if he starts to pump up his price, I was saying it the other day, who's more valuable right now, Jesus Luzardo or Pablo Lopez? I mean, I think it's a tough one, personally. Like, Luzardo's got more control in terms of contractual control, not with the ball. But Luzardo's got a little bit more control. To me, he's proving it this year that he can be a legit starter. He's fixed whatever the issues were in Oakland. He's a lefty. Would you take Luzardo or Pablo Lopez? I don't know. Let me know. Let me know what you think. Who do you think actually holds the most trade value? And if the Marlins could then flip, let's say they flip Luzardo for, I don't know, a big-time bat, they have to consider it. They absolutely have to consider it. And they have to, maybe they keep Pablo then. Or they even move Pablo and Luzardo and go and double down. Next thing is then the rotation starts to, oh boy, you move 2 of them. You need Trevor Rogers to be bouncing back then. Sandy, Trevor, Edward Cabrera, Braxy Garrett can come and do a job. Maybe 1 or 2 others. Cody Poteet, I don't know. You kind of move a few of those out without any obvious health from Sixto and some uncertainty around like a Jake Eder. Obviously, Max Meyer's out for the year. It's the Marlins could put themselves into a bit of a tricky position pitching-wise, but we'll wait and see. Speaking of trades, the news dropping yesterday was a Ken Rosenthal piece, I believe. Eli Sussman, Fish Stripe shared an excerpt out of that saying that, the news and notes, I guess, of the trade deadline that the Yankees and the Marlins were talking about Pablo. I think we all were aware of that situation. But the names floated around that the Yankees, in the end, it seems like, decided to pass on were Pablo Lopez plus Miguel Rojas for Oswald Peraza, the highly touted prospect, of course, and Gleyber Torres. So those 2 dudes, both middle infielders from the Yankees, and the Yankees turned it down. There's been a lot of talk about Peraza. There's been a lot of talk about the Yankees prospects in general. They decided not to move really any of those guys. Volpe's obviously highly touted as well. Dominguez the same. So they've got a lot of a lot of prospects that they seemingly like, and maybe they're untouchable. I don't know. It's interesting though. Here's my take on it. And listening to what Craig shared on Swings and Mishes a few weeks back, and has kind of mentioned a little bit to me, it felt like this trade, this Pablo Lopez one, started to get some momentum going, was kind of getting close, but then fell away, and it never really got to the final shakes. And it centered around Pablo Lopez for Gleyber Torres. That was the core fundamentals of the trade. And God, when I heard that, I thought, oh boy, that doesn't sound a great one for the Marlins. Like, where's Gleyber Torres up to? I've not been following the Yankees that closely, but yeah, when you kind of dig into Gleyber Torres, like, he's got 2 more years of control, like Pablo has. You look at WAR stats if you want to use some sort of easy comparison. They're very similar in terms of WAR this year. I think Gleyber's a little bit ahead of Pablo. Obviously, Gleyber's had a couple of stunning years. Then, a few not so good. But this year's been what I would say you're pretty good if you were to put him on the Marlins. He's the second or third best hitter. That's maybe not saying too much. I mean, Jazz has been the best hitter. So let's say you've got Jazz and Gleyber there in middle infield. I guess Jazz maybe has to slide over the shortstop again, and maybe that's the impact here. But on the face of it, I looked and thought, okay, you move Pablo Lopez. There's question marks around Pablo, right? We're all Marlins fans and we know the drill. Pablo, he's breaking innings, pitch limits, or total innings, like every start. Every inning is a new record for him. So he's not proven that he can take the workload. He's not proven that he can make it through to the postseason period at all. The talent is there. No doubt, we've seen it. We know it. He's a lovable guy. But there's definitely a few knocks there with Pablo that kind of the clubs will be kind of chinking against him. Look at Gleyber Torres. What do the Marlins need out of this if they're going to move Pablo Lopez? For me, I want to see a proven bat. I don't want to be back down the pathway of a couple of high A, highly touted prospects, or double A, highly touted prospects that we've never seen at the major league level. I'm absolutely fine with getting a proven major league bat. That's what we need. We don't need the prospects to come up, bed in, If we're going to move a Pablo Lopez, it has to be for a proven bat. And for me, Gleyber Torres, he fits that brief. He does. He really does. And I'd be intrigued to see whether, maybe this is how it started. Maybe it was, okay, cool, we like Gleyber Torres. Or maybe, we like Oswald Peraza. I don't know where it started. But you kind of look at this and think, if that was to be the deal, yeah, and I put it out there on Twitter, what do people think about it? Pablo and Miggy for Gleyber and Peraza. What I'd say is it was, and I described it as a Marmite trade. US listeners, I know this because a few people replied to me saying, what the hell does Marmite trade mean? Marmite is a food substance, let's say, that is either love it or hate it. There is no middle ground with Marmite. You either absolutely love it or you hate it. And so Marmite trade means that pretty much people were polar opposites. They either loved it or hated this proposal. Me personally, I loved it. I thought this was a great return for the Marlins because, yes, you hate to see Miggy go for what he's been to the organization. You hate to see Pablo go, top dude. At the end of the day, they have to move an arm to get a proven bat. I think they get that with Gleyber. And I also think that then they get one that's pretty much near ready, highly touted guy that, also slots into that middle infield as well. So I actually love that for the Fish, but a lot of people were like, no way, that's shocking for the Marlins. And I think that's probably, like, my gut feel is as to why people had that reaction was that they just hadn't looked at Gleyber Torres. They just hadn't probably gone and had a look to see what's he been doing this year. They're maybe not following the Yankees like I'm not. But when you kind of dig into Gleyber, he's having a nice year still, I think. And he'd be an upgrade for the Marlins. I think that's the way we have to look at it is offensively, would he be an upgrade? Yes, he would. Where would you play him? Don't know. Work that out. Where's Jazz going to play? Don't know. The reality is Jazz, good 2 seasons now with long stints on the IL. So gut feel is you're going to need someone in the lineup that's going to be around when maybe Jazz isn't in a year. I don't know. So I loved it from a Marlins perspective. I think with Miggy Rowe, Gold Glove caliber, no doubt about it. The defense, the glove with Miggy is sensational, but the bat has dropped off so badly for Miggy that it's tough to carry him now. Like in some ways with this offense, like the Marlins need to think about this one differently. Pitching and defense is all well and good, but trying to win games 1-0 is a dangerous strategy for sure, particularly with the bullpen that the Marlins have as well. So overall, I'm intrigued to see the way this one goes. Obviously, the Yankees have had some injury news recently as well. I think I saw one of their starters go to the IL yesterday. The Dodgers, who the Marlins, I believe, are also talking to. And interestingly, that centered around Gavin Lux. So, it's interesting that the Marlins are targeting that middle infield bat, both maybe with Gleyber or Lux. So I think that's a really interesting indicator of where they're thinking, maybe in line with what I'm thinking, that you can't carry Miggy and you can't be an everyday hitter there in the lineup because it's just, it's just too big a drop off. So they need production. They need it fast from the middle infield. They're willing to move a starting major league level pitcher to go and get some proven major league talent at the middle infield spot. Makes a ton of sense in my opinion. But like I was mentioning, the Dodgers, they've, Buehler's now out for this year plus next. Obviously they've, their rotation's kind of holding up just fine. I do wonder if the Yankees will regret this one now. Now they've maybe had a couple of injuries creeping in. I know Severino has been out for some time as well. So the Yankees, ahead of the deadline, and this is the funny thing, ahead of the deadline, they were like absolutely steamrolling everyone. Post-deadline, they've been on a bit of a middling run of form, some would say. So they haven't been as impressive. They're not steamrolling everyone. I do wonder if that form would have crept in earlier, let's say, where maybe they got into a sticky patch before the deadline a little bit, maybe the week leading up to the deadline, and the Yankees were kind of in a bit of a sticky patch. Maybe they would have looked to pull the trigger on this type of deal to get another starter in there to kind of give them the innings and the talent and the quality to keep the momentum rolling. But I don't know. We'll wait and see how that one plays out in the offseason. The offseason, as we know, it'll be a huge talking point. It'll be a huge talking point for me on Locked On Marlins, and no doubt about it. And it's essential. The Marlins need bats. They've got arms. They have to move arms to get bats. It's a simple challenge that's being posed to Kim. I love what Kim's done from pretty much every trade. I have full confidence in Kim Ang making the right moves from a trade perspective. I don't feel the same way about free agency just yet, but I do feel from a trade perspective that Kim has been very good. She's been above average in my opinion there. And so if the deal's going to be done, I feel like it'll be a Marlins win, or there's a good chance it will be. That's going to wrap us up today, guys. We've got a 4-game series on deck against the Dodgers. Sandy Alcantara looks to right the ship. The Marlins look to blow up Tony Gonsolin and end the Cy Young debate. Let's hope by the time we speak next, Sandy Alcantara has pretty much got his name on the trophy. Is there a trophy for Cy Young? I don't even know. Nevertheless, guys, thanks for joining me on Locked On Marlins today. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen today and all week, hopefully. I hope you've enjoyed the show. I mentioned I'll be back on Monday, no doubt, with Sean Barrett. Let's go.